when I first arrived in a foreign city to study English. I felt overwhelmed by the noise, the honking cars, the chatter of strangers, the endless footsteps echoing down concrete streets. But as the days passed, I began to realize something deeper. Beneath all that sound, the city had a language of its own, a silent language that spoke not with words, but with rhythms, patterns, and emotions. My English teacher once told me, every city is a story, and every story teaches a language. I didn't understand what she meant until I started walking through the city alone, listening not just with my ears, but with my heart. Every morning, I took the same route to class, a narrow street lined with cafes and bookstores. I noticed how the shop owners greeted customers differently. Some used cheerful words, others only smiled. Yet both kinds of greetings carried meaning. That's when I realized that communication isn't just about language, it's about presence. It's about the tone of a gesture, the warmth of a glance, the pause between words. In English, we often talk about body language or non-verbal communication, but cities have their own version of this. The flashing lights at a crosswalk say wait. The slow hum of a subway train says routine. The graffiti on a wall screams expression, and every soundless signal tells a story. One afternoon after class, my teacher assigned us a task. Write a short essay about how your city communicates, she said. Don't just describe what you see, describe what it says. So I began observing more closely. The street performers who played violins at the station, they spoke in melodies, not sentences. The people waiting at the bus stop, they said nothing, but their tired faces told stories of long hours and silent hope. The skyscrapers reaching toward the clouds seemed to whisper about ambition, while the quiet park benches told tales of reflection and peace. I started to notice patterns. Morning rush hour spoke in hurried footsteps and coffee cups. Noon spoke in laughter and clinking dishes from nearby restaurants. Night spoke in whispers, streetlights, and the soft hum of dreams being built and broken. The more I paid attention, the more fluent I became, not just in English, but in the language of life. One rainy evening, as I walked home, I found myself lost in an unfamiliar neighborhood. The signs were in English, but they didn't comfort me. I stopped near a bakery where an old man smiled and handed me an umbrella. He didn't say a single word. That moment taught me a powerful English lesson. Kindness doesn't need translation. When I thanked him, my words were simple. Thank you, sir. But what passed between us wasn't grammar, it was grace. I realized then that English was just one part of communication. The silent gestures of humanity were another. From that day on, I started learning English differently. Instead of memorizing phrases from textbooks, I tried to connect them to experiences. When I learned the word serene, I thought of the calm river flowing through the city park. When I learned resilient, I thought of the cracked pavements where flowers still grew. When I learned diverse, I thought of the markets filled with voices from every corner of the world. The city became my classroom, and silence became my teacher. A few months later, our class took part in a project called The Language of Cities. Each student had to record short English reflections about how urban life communicates emotions. I titled mine The Silent Language of Cities. In my video, I stood on a bridge overlooking the skyline and said, "Cities speak through what they build and what they break." Their silence tells us who we are, what we value, and how we change. I explained how architecture is like grammar structures built to hold meaning. Streets are like sentences connecting ideas. People are like words, each carrying their own story. When I finished recording, I didn't know if my English was perfect, but I knew it was real. My teacher later told me, "You've learned what most students never do. That fluency isn't just about speaking English. It's about understanding voices that don't speak at all." As time passed, I realized every city speaks differently. Tokyo whispers in efficiency and order. New York shouts with ambition and energy. Paris sings with art and nostalgia. And my hometown speaks softly in the laughter of children and the scent of rain on old roofs. No matter where we go, we can learn this universal language, the language of silence, of connection, of shared human rhythm. And in that language, we are all fluent. Now, when I walk through any city, I don't just see buildings or crowds. I see sentences of humanity. The streetlights are commas. The traffic signals are pauses, and every smile is a word of kindness written in invisible ink. Learning English helped me listen more deeply, not only to people but to places. I discovered that understanding language is not just about decoding words, but about perceiving meaning everywhere, in gestures, in stillness, in the space between two sounds. Because sometimes the most powerful stories are not spoken, they are simply felt.